Hi, and welcome to part 3 of the Getting Started with MeshAgent series. I'm Tula Masterman. I'm an AI agent solution architect here at MeshAgent, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to both deploy and share the agents that you build using MeshAgent. Today we're going to be deploying both the voice and the chat agent that we built during the last tutorial. These agents are equipped with some of the built-in MeshAgent tools for tasks like writing documents to the room, converting documents to Markdown, as well as interacting with the user. Feel free to check out that video for more information on how to build agents using built-in MeshAgent tools as well as using custom tools. To run this example, you'll need to have Docker set up as well as a container registry. I'll be using the Azure Container Registry, but the same steps apply if you're using the GCP Artifact Registry or if you're using a different container registry. So the first thing that we need to do is head to the Secrets tab in the MeshAgent Studio. And then what you'll do is you'll create a new image pull secret, and you can go ahead and select which container registry you're using, whether that's GCP or Azure or something else. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the Azure Container Registry, and you'll fill in the information about the image pull secret. So this is going to require that you give it a name. So I might name it something like ACR, and then I'll give it the name of the container registry that I'm using. So this would be like my registry.azurcr.io. And then you'll also need to pull in the service principal ID as well as the service principal password. We'll go ahead and link the documentation so that way if you don't have the service principal set up already, you'll be able to grab that, and that'll also have the commands that you can run in your terminal in order to get these values. So once all that information is filled in, you'll just go ahead and click on Create Secret, and then that'll save the secret so that way we can use it in the service deployment. Now before we deploy the agent, I want to call out a couple things. Once the agent is deployed, it'll be available to any of the rooms that exist within our project. So this is important because we want to make sure that agents are scoped at the appropriate level. So let's say I'm building one set of agents that's for my finance team and one set of agents that's for my HR team. I'd want to create different projects, one for HR and one for finance, so that way their agents are able to stay completely separate from one another. So now that we've added the image pull secret, we're going to go ahead and switch back to VS Code, and all we'll need to do is add our Docker file. Inside of the Docker file, we'll make sure that we're installing the MeshAgent libraries, and then from here, we just need to build and push the Docker container to our registry. So next, we'll just navigate to the terminal, and we'll run a couple commands to get connected to our container registry in Azure, and then from there, we'll be able to build and push our container. So first, we'll just go ahead and run AZ login, and then next, we'll go ahead and log into the container registry. And then finally, we'll just run the command to build and push our Docker container. Now you can see here, it's been a couple of minutes, but we were able to successfully build and push our container to our registry. Now that we've successfully pushed our container, I'm going to go back to the MeshAgent Studio, and then now I'm going to click into the Services tab, and we're going to create a new service. This service will be using our Docker container, and this is how we're going to deploy and run the agent. So first, we'll just go ahead and give the service a name. The name that I'll use for the chat agent is just going to be chat agent. And then I'll assign the role to the service. So in this case, we're deploying an agent. You can also deploy tools as services, and I'll be covering that in a future video. And then here we just need to put in the full image tag. So this is going to be our MA registry demo.azurcr.io/getting started v1. And then for the image pull secret here, I'm just going to select ACR since that's the image pull secret that we had created earlier with all of that service principal information. So the next thing that we're going to do is fill out the port information. I'm just going to run this on port 7001. And then the path it's using is the same path that we had for the service host inside of our code. So for the chat agent, it's just going to be /chat. And then we do want to leave this as a MeshAgent callable type, and then we'll just give our participant a name. So in this case, it's going to be chat agent. And then the next thing that we're going to do is fill in this liveness check. So we'll just go ahead and put a / here. And this is important because it allows MeshAgent to make sure that the agent is ready and initialized before it brings it into the room. And then the last thing that we'll do is go ahead and add the MeshAgent port to the environment variables, and we'll go ahead and fill in our port number, which in this case is 7001. And then from here, we can click on Create Service, and this will go ahead and create our agent service for us. So now that our service is created, we can go ahead and go to the Sessions tab, and then we can click on New Session, and we'll just give it a new room name. So we'll just call this New Room. Go ahead and click OK here. And then this will provision the room for us, and then it's also going to call the chat agent in. Now, the great thing about services is once you've deployed the agent as a service, it's going to show up in all of the rooms that are available to that particular project. So going back to our example before, if we're deploying agents that are helpful for the finance team versus for the HR team, since that agent's going to be available in all of the rooms, we just want to make sure that only the people who need to have access to this project are included as members for that particular project. Perfect. So now we're in our room and we can see that our chat agent is already here. And so I can just go ahead and type a message to it. In this case, I'm going to tell it to write me a document about AGI. And this is going to let the agent use the tools that we've deployed it with to interact with the room. So you can see here, it's already filled in the AGI document, and it's also responded to me, letting me know that the document's been posted, and it's continued to give me a fun fact actually about the roots of where the term AGI came from. So now if I wanted to share the agent, I can go ahead and click in the menu here, and then just click on share. And then this is going to share the link for the agent. So we're just going to send people a link to this new room, and we'll give them access to the chat agent. And then we can also select which parts of the studio interface we want to be available. So if we just wanted them to see the chat interface, we could just leave this checked off and then click on generate link here. So now I have a link that I can go ahead and just paste into a new tab. And for now, since I'm logged in, you'll probably see that my chat history comes up, but this link would allow you to share your agent with anybody else so that way they can start testing the agent and continuing to give you some feedback on it. Now, if I go back to the MeshAgent Studio here, I'm just going to deploy our voice agent. And to do this, we're going to follow the exact same process that we did with the chat agent. So now I'll go back to the services tab, and then we're just going to create a new service. This time we're going to call it voice agent. We'll give it the agent role. I'll paste in the image tag, then I'll add the image pull secret. And again, we'll give our agent a port to run on. This time I'll put it as 7002. And this is using the voice path. And I'm going to name it voice agent. And then we'll add the MeshAgent port. And now we can go ahead and create our voice agent. So you can see here, now we have both our chat and our voice agent deployed as services. And if I go back to our sessions tab, we can just click back into our new room and then enter the room. And we'll see here that we have both our chat agent as well as our voice agent. So I can go ahead and start a new conversation with the voice agent. And this time, let's just ask it to tell me a little bit about what it thinks the future of AI might be like. Can you add a document to the room with your predictions on the future of AI? And we can see here, it just wants me to validate the title for the document. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And then now that document's going to get posted to the room, and we'll see what the agent thinks the future of AI might look like. Here we go.
I've added my predictions on the future of AI to a document titled AI Future Predictions. Document. Would you like to add or modify anything in this document? Fun fact, the term artificial intelligence was first coined in 1956 at a conference at Dartmouth College.
Awesome. So now we have both our chat and our voice agent set up as services in MeshAgent, and the agents will be available within any of the rooms that exist within this particular project. If we want to update the agents, all that we'll have to do is rebuild and push the container, and then we'll just update the service. So if I go back here, I'll show you. We can easily modify the services just by clicking back into them. And then if this changes to something like V2, you'll just type in V2 and then update the service. And then from there, it'll automatically update and pull in the new version of your agent into the rooms. So this makes it really easy for the version management for agents as well. And that's it. This brings us to the end of our Getting Started with MeshAgent series. Over the course of the last 3 videos, you've learned how to set up your MeshAgent account. You've also learned how to create a couple of agents using both built-in MeshAgent tools as well as custom tools, and you've learned how to deploy and share your agent. Keep an eye out for future videos where we'll be building more and more complicated agents, as well as diving into some of the other features of the MeshAgent platform. Thanks for watching, and as always, feel free to reach out to us with any questions, thoughts, or feedback that you might have.